On a warm August afternoon in 2016, a young woman went for a jog in the sleepy, rural town of Princeton, Massachusetts. By sunset, her family's worst nightmare had become a horrifying reality. 27-year-old Vanessa Marcotte had been brutally murdered, strangled, assaulted, and left for dead in a place she thought was safe. But this wasn't just a tragic incident in a small town. It was a chilling pattern. Just days earlier, another young woman, Karina Vetrano, was found dead in New York, killed while running in a park. Is it possible that the same killer was behind both crimes? Or was this just a terrible coincidence? In this video, we'll dive into the shocking and twisted story of Vanessa Marcotte's murder, the intense investigation, and the killer who thought he could get away with it. This case will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about safety, trust, and the dangers lurking in everyday life. On Sunday, August 7th, 2016, 27-year-old Vanessa Marcotte was visiting her mother, Rosanna, in the quiet town of Princeton, Massachusetts. Vanessa was an ambitious and successful young woman who worked for Google in New York City. Known for her infectious smile and her love for sports and volunteer work, she had a life that many admired. That afternoon, as she often did, Vanessa decided to go for a run. The route was familiar to her, through the peaceful roads and woodlands near her mother's home. This was a routine she'd done countless times before. But on this day, something went terribly wrong. Vanessa didn't return. Hours passed, and her mother, alarmed by the silence, immediately called the police. As the sun set, Rosanna's worst fears grew. This wasn't like her daughter at all. By 8:20 p.m., a police dog finally picked up Vanessa's scent. What they discovered next would shake the entire town to its core. Just 60 yards from the road, hidden in thick brush, Vanessa's body was found. Stripped of her clothes, her body showed clear signs of a violent struggle. Burn marks were visible on her hands, legs, and face. The scene was unsettling, and the question was clear: who could do something this monstrous? Forensics confirmed the worst. Vanessa had been strangled. And the most chilling discovery? DNA from an unknown man was found under her fingernails. Vanessa had fought for her life. But that wasn't all. Her phone and headphones were missing, likely taken by the killer to erase any evidence. Investigators later found traces of gasoline around the area, leading them to believe the killer had tried to destroy any traces of DNA that could link him to the crime. The town of Princeton was in a state of disbelief. With fewer than 4,000 residents, this small, quiet town had never seen anything like this. The community, shocked by the brutality of the crime, was suddenly forced to confront a terrifying reality. Could there be a killer living among them? Police began their investigation, but leads were scarce. No witnesses, no immediate suspects, just an isolated crime scene. The only thing they had was the DNA under Vanessa's nails, and the gruesome nature of the crime pointed to someone who knew the area well. Then, the public was rocked by an eerie connection. Just days before Vanessa's murder, 30-year-old Karina Vetrano had been found dead in a park in New York City, strangled while out for a jog. The similarities were undeniable. Both women had been running alone, and both had been brutally murdered in secluded areas. Was this a random coincidence, or was there a link between the two cases? As the months passed, the case seemed to stall until one day, a new witness came forward. They reported seeing a dark-colored SUV parked near the crime scene on the day of Vanessa's death. The driver, a man between 25 and 35, likely Hispanic, had been seen standing by the SUV at 12:45 p.m. and again at around 2:05 p.m. with the hood of the vehicle up. Authorities now had a breakthrough. This man was the key to solving the mystery. But who is he? In March 2017, the breakthrough came when a police officer spotted a man who matched the description of the suspect, a Hispanic male, driving a dark SUV similar to the one seen near the crime scene. The officer quickly wrote down the vehicle's license plate. That man was identified as Angelo Colon Ortiz, a 31-year-old delivery driver who had lived in the area for less than a year. Ortiz, a man with no prior criminal record, was known to his neighbors for making crude comments, particularly to women. Was he the monster responsible for Vanessa's death? When questioned, Ortiz denied knowing Vanessa and claimed he couldn't remember if he had been in Princeton that day. But investigators weren't buying it. They asked him to provide a DNA sample, and after some resistance, Ortiz agreed. It was a decision that would come back to haunt him. Months later, the lab results came in. Ortiz's DNA matched the DNA found under Vanessa's fingernails. Ortiz was arrested in April 2017, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. Prosecutors revealed that on the day of the murder, Ortiz had purchased gasoline at a nearby store, just after Vanessa's death. He had returned to the scene, likely to destroy evidence. But DNA from the scene, including a match with Ortiz, sealed his fate. Ortiz's defense tried to argue that his DNA was collected improperly, citing a language barrier during his interview with police. But it wasn't enough. In 2022, Ortiz was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. His plea deal meant he would serve 20 years for the robbery charge, but he would also face a life sentence for second-degree murder. Vanessa's family, although relieved, will forever carry the pain of their loss. We're thankful that this man will now be in a place where he can't harm anyone the way he harmed Vanessa. Vanessa Marcotte's story is a stark reminder of how fragile life can be and how we never know what dangers lurk just around the corner, even in the most peaceful of places. How well do we really know the people around us? Could a killer be closer than we think? As we close the story, think about this. How safe do you really feel when you go for a jog, a walk, or a simple run? What would you do if the unthinkable happened to you? If you found this story haunting and chilling, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime cases that will keep you questioning everything. Subscribe for more deep dives into true crime, and stay alert because sometimes the most dangerous people are those you least suspect.